if you gave them grazing grounds and they were just hiding under the problem of not having grazing grounds to further political agenda or socioeconomic or religious agenda, then what have you done? The people who perform or who perpetuate these acts are individuals for a start. Fulani is an ethnic group. Fulani on its own doesn't kill. It's a language, Fulfulde actually. Even the guns they carry don't shoot themselves. The moment you append yourself to that kind of act, then individually there's an onus of liability on you. So we go after these people regardless what they are called, regardless who they are, regardless what they worship. And when they are caught, they will be dealt with as such. If we begin to catch them or go after them and brand them a certain name, then you're not going to get the required responses and cooperation across this country. Don't forget there are law enforcement officers who are Fulanis too. There are members, honorable members who are Fulanis too. So when you decide to malign them and say these Fulani people, then you are not going to get the required mindset and cooperation from those in position. It becomes political. We are looking for people, human beings, who take on villages and kill women and babies. And when we grab them, we treat them as individuals. If they were sponsored by a group, fine, the group becomes liable. But ultimately, every man is responsible for his own actions.
All right. Dr. Como, is it possible in our present situation to separate security challenges from politics? Because some would say that's one of the reasons why we are at this point where we are.
Politics.
Politics.
Well, I have to go back to modules of governance. First of all, security is supposed to trump politics. You don't put political considerations above security concerns. Security concerns relate to the welfare of the citizenry, relate to the welfare of individuals, relate to their safety and their, just being safe from harm or even being killed. So that never trumps in other climes in the United States, in the UK. Security trumps politics. But unfortunately in Nigeria, we have it the other way. Politics trumps security. So when there are political concerns, we put it above security concerns. And that is always a problem. So I give you an example. Intelligence, important security intelligence that will save lives, sometimes suppressed because of political considerations. And so that's the quagmire we find ourselves in this country, unfortunately. Now, the correct thing, again, like I said, let me go back to models of governance. The correct thing is for security to trump politics, because first, the polity itself must be safe for political processes to take place. But what we have here, political actors have become so huge and so large, and they don't understand the nature, and they don't understand the nature of governance. Again, what I call models of governance, that they think that, oh yes, politics should be first thing. Now, let me just bring it down to a simple level. You have a situation where a political campaign rally, for example, could trigger violence. Now, political security officials are supposed to say, we should not have this rally because it's going to cause this thing. And they're supposed to defer to it, but in Nigeria it's not so. I remember when during the height of Boko Haram crisis, politicians were riding around in convoys, and in some cases, the Air Force planes will mistake them for Boko Haram convoys and bomb them. And then so the senators came back and were like, why did you bomb us? But you're not supposed to be, you're not supposed to provide, give us impression that you are in fact BH on rampage, So I mean, just to give you this in how silly it can be. So the real thing, what is supposed to be, and that's the way it is. If there's a security concern today in the United States, President Obama addresses that security concern before he does politics. Because if not, he's going to be questioned by both the legislature and the citizenry that why did you think that your politics is higher than our security.
Us.
Because the president, or politicians in this case, they are supposed to serve the people, serve the citizens who elected them into office. It's not the other way around. And it is the politics or the purpose of civilized governance, what we call the compact between the state and the individual, is we submit our, we obey such that the government will protect us. But you see here, the actors of government is some actors, like my friend from LSSTF here is the government actor. The actors are supposed to, understand the real nature of their work and carry it out. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not understood, and they think that politics should in fact trump security.
Just before I ask you, Dr. Razak, a question, I just want to announce that some of our platforms would be joining a live transmission of the platform coming from Abuja, but the conversation will continue in here. So, Dr. Razak, that question about separating politics from security, it's something that, he has said it, that's the bane of the Nigerian situation, where it's now about my party, your party, my ethnic group, your ethnic group, my state, your state, no longer about lives and property. How did we get to the point where we took away from the portion of the Constitution that said the security of lives and property, number one function of government?
Well, I think you have to look at it from different perspectives. I would say that, generally speaking, it's not totally like that in various states or situations. I will speak about Lagos. I don't know what happens in other areas. I can tell you that this fundamental provision in the Constitution is something that is very adhered to in Lagos State. And I must say that we should also talk about the dysfunctionality of our systems. How can you have a federal system where the state governments are not in control, the local governments are not in control of security? They can't put their destinies in their hands. You can't have a country where you give, for instance, all local governments the same function. What happens in Sokoto is quite different from the challenges we have in Lagos. So I think, first of all, in the federal system, people must have their own security systems. You can't have in a state, for instance, where people go to, say, a magistrate court for misdemeanor or something, and then you take them to Kirikiri. What I'm saying in essence is that because of the structure of our security systems in Nigeria, it is faulty ab initio. If you have a governor who takes his own security apparatus and funds it and commands it and does all the things they're supposed to do, you'll find out that, usually speaking, it will not be this way. So when people say that politics takes over security, I don't totally believe that. Yes, we're all Nigerians. And we must understand that sometimes some directions you take, people misconstrue it for other things. If you look at Lagos, for instance, the creation of this agency that I heard was born out of the fact that we were not, the federal government was not coming through with their responsibilities. So for us to bridge that gap. And so it tells you that a state that is forward-looking like that tells you that security of lives and property is a very, very important cardinal point of that state. And you can see even from this new governor, within 6-7 months of this administration, you can see what we have been doing in Lagos.
Let me just, if I may come in here, are you somewhat implying that a state policing system would make things a lot easier?
In my view, and that's my personal opinion as a Nigerian, I think it will make it 100% better. 100% better. And I'll give you reasons. If you have a federal police, like we do in Nigeria, and you are intervening like we're doing, for instance, buying keys, doing this, doing that, you're somewhat restricted because you can't put all your resources to these folks like that, because tomorrow they can be moved out of the state. What happens to all the resources you spent? I think states must evolve. They must have a structure where, they have their own apparatus and they can finance them and kit them. You have much more result. let me tell you something. If you bring somebody from Maiduguri today and post him to Surulere, what does he know about Surulere? It takes time to adjust. It takes time to understand the social, the social values of that area. But if you have a state police or even a county police, because every time we're always quick to talk about USA and London and all those places, it is because over the years they have evolved. Each county would have its own police with their own jurisdictions. And if you have that, you'll find out that if you collectively put everything together from the federal to the state and the counties, I can tell you that you have a very robust security system. But unfortunately here, it's not what we have. So we have to continue to make do with what we have. And that argument, that, governors will use this for political, that, I always ask the question, what is the percentage? It's like when people say Nigerians are fraudulent, I ask them, how many Nigerians are fraudulent to now block the whole population from assessing very important things? So in my view, I think from what I have seen whilst working in this organization and judging with the funding that is at our disposal, if we pump it into our own system, indigenous system in Lagos, we'll make a tremendous success of security in Lagos and Nigeria.
Let me bring in Captain Aliyu at this point. It's interesting that this issue has reared its head again. The debate has been it had been a bit quiet, but it seems to be coming back now. The issue of state police. All kinds of reasons have been adduced why we cannot have a state police and why it will not work in Nigeria. But do you think that with all these happenings, all these new trends that we're seeing, that it is time to bring up this debate again?
I don't think you heard that question. You might need to ask it again.
Oh, Captain Aliyu, I'm saying that with the new trends we're seeing, is it now time for us to reopen the debate about state policing?